Is Starfleet Academy too young for Star Trek? For nearly 60 years, Star Trek has asked us to imagine a future defined not by conflict, but by progress. A future where humanity outgrew many of its worst instincts. A future built on curiosity, diplomacy, science, and exploration. Star Trek has never just been television. It has been philosophy in uniform. Which is why the announcement of a new series centered on Starfleet Academy immediately sparked something powerful among fans. Excitement, curiosity, hope, and for some, concern. Because Starfleet Academy represents something Star Trek has rarely done before, placing students at the center of the story rather than seasoned officers commanding starships. And that raises a question spreading rapidly across the fandom. Is Starfleet Academy too young for Star Trek? Not simply in the age of its characters, but in its tone, direction, and identity. To understand why this question matters, we must understand what Star Trek has traditionally represented. When Gene Roddenberry imagined the future, he didn't envision impulsive youth leading the charge. He imagined disciplined professionals, explorers who had earned their place among the stars. Starfleet was portrayed as the best humanity had to offer. Admission suggested brilliance. Graduation implied readiness. Command required emotional maturity. So when fans hear Starfleet Academy, some immediately picture something different. Less mastery, more mistakes. Less certainty, more emotional turbulence. And that tonal shift makes longtime viewers pause. Because Star Trek has always balanced heart with intellect, but rarely leaned heavily into adolescent energy. Now, that balance may be changing. But here is the fascinating truth. Starfleet Academy has always existed inside Star Trek. We just never stayed there very long. We heard about the impossible entrance exams, the psychological screenings, the brutal simulations, the relentless expectations. Cadets were never ordinary students. They were elite, chosen from billions, which means an academy-based series has enormous potential, if handled correctly. And that if is where fan anxiety lives. In today's television landscape, youth-driven shows often follow a predictable formula: heightened emotion, relationship drama, identity struggles, rebellion against authority. Those elements can create compelling television. But Star Trek has historically aimed higher than typical coming-of-age storytelling. It has asked moral questions, examined political ideas, explored the cost of leadership. So the fear among some fans is not actually about age, it is about depth. Will Starfleet Academy maintain the intellectual backbone that defines Star Trek? Or will it chase younger audiences at the expense of philosophical storytelling? This concern isn't unfounded. Streaming platforms are locked in fierce competition, and one of the fastest ways to attract new subscribers is lowering the barrier to entry. Younger casts invite younger viewers. Serialized drama encourages binge-watching. Romantic arcs create emotional hooks. From a business standpoint, the strategy makes sense. But Star Trek has never thrived by following television trends. It has thrived by setting them. So the real question becomes, is Starfleet Academy an evolution or a concession? Because there is a profound difference between expanding a universe and diluting it. Yet it would be a mistake to assume that youth automatically means shallowness. Many legendary leaders were shaped long before they ever held command. Imagine watching that formation. The moment a future captain learns restraint, the class where a cadet understands the weight of command, the simulation that teaches someone when not to fire. Those stories could be extraordinary. For decades, we saw the finished product. Now we may see the forging process. And forging is never comfortable. It is pressure, failure, growth. If the writers lean into that reality, rather than softening it, Starfleet Academy could deliver some of the most emotionally layered storytelling the franchise has ever produced. But tone will be everything. If the series becomes overly glossy, overly romantic, overly impulsive, it risks drifting away from what makes Star Trek aspirational. Because Starfleet has never been portrayed as easy, it has been portrayed as earned. Another tension beneath this conversation is generational change. Every era believes its version of Star Trek is the definitive one. The original series introduced optimism during cultural upheaval. The next generation emphasized diplomacy and intellectual rigor. Deep Space Nine explored moral ambiguity. Voyager examined resilience. Enterprise asked how it all began. Each shift initially unsettled some viewers, yet each eventually found devoted audiences. So resistance to Starfleet Academy may not signal rejection. It may simply reflect the discomfort that accompanies transition. Still, there is a delicate line between evolution and identity loss, and fans are remarkably skilled at sensing when a franchise crosses it. Modern audiences often expect psychological transparency from characters. They want vulnerability, backstory, emotional access. Earlier Trek sometimes kept emotions more contained, disciplined rather than absent. Today's storytelling externalizes inner conflict. That approach could benefit an academy setting. Young officers would realistically grapple with self-doubt, fear, ambition, and the desire to prove themselves. Handled thoughtfully, that vulnerability could enhance the narrative. But if emotion replaces intellect rather than complementing it, the balance tips, and balance has always been Star Trek's quiet superpower. Let's talk about stakes. Some critics worry that stories centered on students might feel smaller. After all, nothing compares to a captain deciding whether to risk a starship or a civilization. But the first time someone faces a no-win scenario is unforgettable. The first ethical test often defines a career. The first command decision can echo for decades. Stakes are not measured by scale. They are measured by consequence. If Starfleet Academy treats those early trials with gravity, the tension could be immense. There is also an opportunity Star Trek has rarely seized: mentorship. Imagine veteran officers shaping cadets who will one day surpass them. Imagine the friction between tradition and innovation. Every institution survives by teaching the next generation without becoming trapped by the past. Perhaps that is what this series is truly about, not youth replacing tradition, but youth inheriting it. Of course, skepticism remains understandable. When franchises expand rapidly, audiences sometimes experience fatigue. Too many shows can blur what once felt special. So Starfleet Academy carries an additional burden: justification. It must prove why it exists, why this story matters now, why this lens adds something essential. Fortunately, Star Trek has always been at its best when reflecting the moment in which it is created. Today's world is grappling with uncertainty, technological acceleration, and shifting definitions of leadership. What better time to examine how leaders are formed? What better setting than an academy preparing individuals for an unpredictable future? If done right, Starfleet Academy may not feel too young at all. It may feel necessary. Because every great captain was once a student staring at the stars, wondering if they were ready. And readiness is never about age. It is about character. So perhaps the real question isn't whether Starfleet Academy is too young for Star Trek. Perhaps the question is whether we are ready to watch the beginning instead of the legend. Because legends do not start in the captain's chair. They start in classrooms, in simulations, in moments of doubt, and sometimes in failure. If Starfleet Academy embraces discipline, intellect, and moral courage, it could become one of the most important expansions of the franchise in decades. But if it forgets what Starfleet represents, audiences will feel it immediately. The future of Star Trek has always depended on its ability to move forward without losing its soul. Now the franchise is preparing to do exactly what Starfleet itself has always done: train the next generation. Whether that future inspires confidence or concern remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the eyes of the fandom will be watching. carefully, hopefully, and maybe ready to believe again.